Sean McCarthy, senior, Sleepy Hollow. McCarthy has started at quarterback for the Horsemen for the past 2 seasons. As a senior, he set Sleepy Hollow's single-season passing record with 2,060 yards. He also set Sleepy Hollow's all-time record with 3,291 yards in his career. McCarthy passed for 28 touchdowns in 2 seasons. Originally a wide receiver, McCarthy embraced the role of quarterback as a junior by spending countless hours with coaches and developing into an all-section player. Jacob Liebert, senior, Panis. Jacob is a 3-year varsity, 2-way starter for the Panthers. Liebert was a guy who will play pretty much anywhere on the field. He led the Panthers with nearly 700 total yards of offense and had the team's most touchdowns. Defensively, he lined up at nose guard, linebacker, and the safety spot throughout the season, and was also a punt and kickoff return specialist, which was a reason he earned offensive MVPs at the Section 1 All-Star Game. Xavier Warren, senior, Lincoln. Warren was a 3-year varsity player and may be among the area's most underrated stars. He played quarterback, running back, wide receiver on offense, defensive back, and linebacker on defense, and played on every special teams. He rarely left the field. A 2-year captain, Warren had nearly 1,000 total yards of offense, despite being the focus of every opposing defense. Zeph Jurazovic, senior, Harrison. Jurazovic only began playing football for the first time his sophomore season. Within that time, he developed from a beginner to a dominant force on the offensive and defensive lines. Although he is 6'5", 290 pounds, it's his footwork and his skill that makes him committing to being a 3-sport athlete. As menacing as his presence was on the field this season, the best football for Jurazovic may be still ahead of him. Jack Gilroy, senior, Somers. The imposing tight end and defensive end was a menace on both sides of the ball this season.
Flushed out of the pocket, Weaver's in big trouble. He's going down! Again, it's Jack Gilroy!
A 3rd-year starter, he was an exceptional blocker who made the most of his chances as a receiver. Gilroy caught 23 passes and turned 8 of them into touchdowns, averaging 17 yards per catch. On the defensive line, he had 62 tackles, 15 for loss, and a team-best 6 sacks. Halil Gekaj, senior, John J. Cross River. Halil is a 4-year starter. At nose guard, he reset the line of scrimmage 2 yards deeper on every play. A reigning Section 1 wrestling champion, Halil demands a double team, therefore letting others to come up and make tackles. John J. often ran behind big number 58, piling up 35.6 points per game for an Indian squad that went 9-1. Armando Smith, senior, Lakeland. Smith was a 2-year varsity starter, leading the team in tackles with 9 and tackles for loss with 8 this past season. He had 47 tackles overall and was a senior captain and a vocal leader on the defensive side of the ball. He was also a key contributor on offense as a blocking tight end. Jaden Navarro, senior, Beacon. Navarro is a 2-year captain at Beacon and was awarded the team MVP for his play and leadership this past season. The team leader in receiving, scoring, and tackles, he finished with 480 yards of offense and 4 touchdowns. Navarro was essential to the Bulldogs on both sides of the ball and commanded constant attention. Austin Evans, senior, Harrison.
It's Evans, bulldozing ahead, touchdown Huskies!
Evans is the epitome of a student athlete. On the football side, the running back and linebacker is a 3-year starter who amassed over 20 career touchdowns and finished as the team's leading tackler in each of the past 2 seasons, helping guide Harrison to a 6-3 record this fall and a berth in the Section 1 Class A quarterfinals.
And 9.
Luke Simon, senior, Byram Hills. Simon was a 3-year varsity starter as well as a team captain this fall, helping steer a strong turnaround in the Byram Hills program. The center and defensive end had a relentless motor and played with a fearlessness that the Bobcats fed off of. Byram started the season 0-2, but Simon wouldn't let the team falter for long. He spearheaded a defense that allowed 6 points combined in the next 2 games and then scratched his way to a 5-4 finish. Thor Adamak, senior, John J. Cross River. Adamak has been a starter the past 3 seasons and emerged this fall as the most versatile player on the John Jay roster. Adamak, who played lacrosse at Colgate, has lined up and played just about everywhere on offense, thriving as a running back and a breakaway talent at receiver. He rushed for over 700 yards, averaging 8 yards per carry for a John Jay squad that won 9 games and featured one of the most prolific offenses in Section 1. Jonathan Farley, senior, Pearl River. Farley has been a 3-year varsity starter for the Pirates at fullback and defensive end, serving as the team's captain the past 2 seasons. Facing defenses that were designed to stop him, Farley was the program's career rushing leader. He amassed 1,028 yards and 12 touchdowns this season and posted 58 tackles, including a team-best 13 for loss and 6 forced fumbles. Jake Travis, senior, Hendrick Hudson. Travis is a 2-year starter for the Sailors. He was selected as a team captain in 2017. The 6'3", 190-pounder led the team in sacks in both his junior and senior seasons. He is a 2-time All-League selection and was the heart and soul of the Sailors' defense. Billy Chabot, senior, Rye. Chabot is a reliable backfield option and a 3-year varsity starter. He led the Garnets in rushing with 714 yards and scored 7 touchdowns on the ground.
Big running room for the Garnets. Chabot on his feet all the way to the end zone.
Chabot is also the second leading tackler on the team from the safety position. One of the most versatile players Dino Gar has coached in 40 seasons, Chabot will attend Cornell University and play lacrosse. Anthony Durso, senior, Lords. The catalyst up front on both sides of the ball for the Warriors was Durso, and the tape doesn't lie. A 3-year starter and captain, Durso was a dominant blocker on offense and a run stuffer on defense. He had double-digit sacks and closed off his side of the field to the run game after game. Kevin Olifiers, senior, Somers. After quarterbacking Somers to a state title as a junior, Olifiers returned this fall and showed tremendous poise and leadership ability. He passed for 981 yards and 15 touchdowns.
Olifiers, complete!
Tossing just 3 interceptions while rushing for 4 touchdowns. Olifiers leaves as the only 3-year starting quarterback that Somers has had in Tony DiMattio's 19 years as head coach. Drew Walpole, senior, Eastchester. Walpole led the team in tackling with 73, which was 3 times more than any other player on the Eastchester roster. He also had 2 sacks and scored a pair of touchdowns on offense. Despite playing just 1 season in the program, Walpole was one of the hardest working players at practice, leading by example, and was a vocal leader on the field. Percy Downing, senior, Nyack. Downing was a 2-way varsity starter the past 2 seasons. He led the team in receiving and rushing yards as a junior, and was among the leaders in touchdowns, tackles, and interceptions as a senior. He captained the team as a senior and led by example with a great attitude and tremendous work ethic. He was arguably the most consistent player on a balanced Nyack roster. Tommy Weaver, junior, Yorktown. All Weaver did in his first season as quarterback was end a 20-year section title drought and guide the team to a berth in the state championship.
2 yards to move the chains. They'll throw it. Weaver stepping up. Weaver got his man. It's going to be a touchdown.
Weaver completed 61% of his passes for 1,119 yards and 12 touchdowns, highlighted by his late TD pass to beat Ryan in the regular season. He also rushed for 621 yards and 5 scores and was a factor in the secondary. Sean McDowell, senior, Lords. McDowell was one of the few holdovers from a Lords team that reached the state championship game 2 years ago. He's a 4-year varsity starter and was all conference as a junior. As a fullback, he averaged 8.2 yards per carry and scored 6 touchdowns, overwhelming defenders at the point of attack. At linebacker, McDowell led the team in tackles and recorded 6 sacks for a Lords squad that went 7-2 and reached the Class A semifinals. Kyle Daly, senior, Tappan Zee. Daly has been a 2-year varsity starter for the Dutchman and was a captain this past season. He led the team in receiving yards, catching 40 passes for 600 yards and 3 scores, and was a threat anytime the ball was in his hands. Daly had a knack for making the key play at the right time and seemed to never leave the field. Matt Stegmeyer, senior, Yorktown. The rugged 2-way lineman anchored Yorktown's units. On the offensive side, he powered an offense that racked up over 4,000 rushing yards. Defensively, he was a difference maker every time he stepped on the field, compiling 77 tackles and 13 sacks for the Section 1 Class A champions. Stegmeyer had one of his best career games in the state championship, recording 9 tackles and 2 sacks. Shahei Kachadurian, senior, John Jay Cross River. The Indians' undefeated run through the regular season was powered by dominant offensive and defensive line, which Kachadurian was consistently in the middle of. Shahei was a 4-year starter and the most athletic lineman that John Jay coach Jimmy Clark has ever had in uniform. A lacrosse commit to Syracuse University, Shahei was among the team leader in tackles and sacks despite constant double teams. Antonio Vieira, Somers. For the second year in a row, Vieira was the backbone of a stellar Somers defense.
Ball pops free, it's intercepted!
The signal caller for the past 2 seasons, Vieira again led the team in tackles with 98, including 13 for loss. He caught 5 touchdowns and ran for 2 as Somers returned to the Section 1 Class A championship game. Brandon Morellis, senior, Yorktown. The standout two-way player was among the most dynamic and versatile athletes in Section 1. Morellis ran for 890 yards and 6 touchdowns, averaging 13.1 yards per carry, while catching 22 passes for 436 yards and 4 scores. Morellis posted 200 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns against Lords in the regular season, and had 138 yards in the state semifinal win over Burnt Hills. In the secondary, on the season, he had 49 tackles and 3 interceptions. Nick Gargiulo, senior, Somers. The most talented lineman in Section 1 the past 2 seasons has been Gargiulo. After helping lead the Tuskers to a Class A state championship as a junior, Gargiulo became the region's most recruited lineman. He committed to Yale University over the summer and followed it up with a dominant senior season, finishing second on the team with tackles with 73, 15 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, while paving the way for an offense that rushed for over 1,800 yards in 10 games. Owen Hull, senior, Rye. Hull was a 3-year varsity starter and captain as a senior, lining up as one of Class A's top guards and linebackers.
It's intercepted! Owen Hull on the return, barreling over defenders.
Hull has been the nucleus of an offensive line the past 3 seasons, where he established himself as a dominating force, earning outstanding offensive lineman for Class A this season. Rye's offense piled up over 3,000 total yards, which was a credit to Hull and the O-line's ability to pass protect and run block. Brett Makar, senior, Yorktown.
Makar to the left side. Makar banging bodies, moving people out of his way. Brett Makar is loose. Here we go. Makar crosses the 20, inside the 10. It's gonna be a touchdown.
The stats, well, they're mind-boggling. 2,039 yards rushing, 23 touchdowns, 8.2 yards per carry, 79 tackles, 9 sacks, 2 interceptions. But Makar's most important attribute was his leadership.
This is gonna take a full team effort just like it has the whole way we've been through this thing.
Makar ranks among the best to ever come through the Yorktown football program, but will play lacrosse at the University of Maryland. He could have a future on the football field if he chose, especially after leading the Huskers to a Section 1 championship and a berth in the state final, rushing for 200 plus yards in 4 straight contests.